Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Welcome back to Worth Guitars. It's good to talk to you again. Thanks for tuning in. So we have this guitar that we made for Patrick Lilla, PJ, who plays in a great band called Tailgate Down. We made this guitar for him and we're having some trouble with the fretboard. My theory is that the dark and light striations in the fretboard, there's some softer wood, and then some hardwood. And I think the frets are moving a little bit, and I'm a little puzzled by it because we don't usually have this problem. But, you know, a fret's going to move around every now and then. You know, a guitar is wood parts and metal parts and temperature changes and sweat and all of that good stuff. Things are going to move around. That's why rock and roll stars have guitar techs, to keep their guitars running smoothly while they're on the road. That's why people make a living working on guitars, because, you know, guitars do weird things sometimes. That's why they have built-in adjustments. You have the intonation adjustment here on the bridge, and you have the truss rod to adjust the neck. You got to build in some adjustment because things are going to get weird sometimes. But on this particular guitar, this fretboard has given me some trouble. This will be the second time that I've tried to make sure that it played correctly for Patrick. Now, Patrick is a discerning player. He wants it to feel exactly right the way he wants it to feel. He wants it to play exactly the way he wants it to play. He wants the action to be a certain height, and that's the way it should be. And because we stand behind all of our guitars, if I build a guitar for you, if there's an issue with it, I'm going to try to fix it one way or the other. Okay? So what we need to try to do is get this fretboard leveled again and dress the frets one more time. Stainless steel frets, jumbo frets. We have some high frets. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this neck in this vise. I'm going to level it, and then I'm going to drip some super thin CA glue down through the back of the frets. You can still access the back of the fret on this fretboard. Down along the sides here, and I'm going to try to reinforce the fret slots. My theory is, like I said, some of the wood underneath the fret is a different density than the other parts of it. I don't know if that's true or not. This is what we're going to try, and we're going to try and make this thing work. If not, I'm going to take this fretboard off of here. I'm going to give him a new fretboard, and we're going to, you know, we'll do whatever we got to do to make it right. Okay? So let's get that done. First thing I'm going to do is put this in here, level the neck, because my theory being on that is if I level the neck, water finds its own level, obviously, the CA glue will run straight down the fret. I won't have anything running off at an angle that I got to clean up. You know, you already got to clean up a little bit of it anyway. So let's try to minimize that. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? It makes sense to me, so let's get going on it, and I'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, to hit the subscribe button. If you have already, thank you very much. You're awesome. And if you would, please just take a moment to reach up and hit the thumbs up button, okay? Please do that for us if you would. YouTube really likes that for some reason. I have no idea why, but if you got a second while you're watching this video, just reach up there and bam, hit the thumbs up button. All right? Okay, thanks. We'll be right back. Okay, first thing we want to do is get this baby in here in this vise. And what I want to try to do is level the fretboard, level the neck. Like that. I want the neck to be level because, like I said, hold on, let me make sure this is working. Yep, we're still working, okay. The theory being that if the neck is level, the frets are straight up and down. When I put the CA glue in the edge of the fret, it'll run straight down instead of at an angle because it's out of level. Right? That makes sense, right? Because water or any thin liquid automatically seeks its own level. That's why a level works. It's just water in the bubble. When it gets level, you know it. Okay, so that should be very, very accurately level. Right there. And what I can do is now take the super thin CA glue, Starbond. I use all Starbond products. They work great. And what I want to do is just ease it right straight down here like this. And what I'm doing is just letting it drip right down the side of the fret like that and drip straight off. That's fine. If it gets on the floor, I don't care. What I don't want it to do is drip down the back of the neck, because I don't want to have to clean that up. I'm going to just worry about cleaning up the face of the fretboard. So what I am going to do right now, just to make sure that doesn't happen, is put a little piece of tape right here, so if anything does try to go backwards, this little piece of tape will stop it. I hope. Hope is not a plan, son. But this will obviously help a lot. We'll just leave that like that. And that worked good. And I'll just take a little paper towel, and anything that wants to pull up at the bottom of the fret down there, we'll just wick it up. It'll wick right up on a paper towel like that. Okay? So that's what we're going to do all the way down. Of course, being very careful up in here, we don't want to get it on the lacquer. You do not want to get CA glue on lacquer. All right, so I'm going to do that all the way down, and we'll see where we get. Reinforce these frets and the wood beneath the frets, just like that. All right, I got you much closer now. That's what we're looking to do. So I'm taking this and just letting it drip out of there on its own pressure, not squeezing it or anything, and just letting it drip right down the side. See that? And just let it drip off. And let it sit there. And I'll come back and clean that up. Most of it is dripping off because there's oil on the fretboard, so it's not trying to stick to the oil. Right? That's what we want to do all the way down. Anything that doesn't drip off, we just wick it up with a paper towel. Just like that. So that's the plan, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and do these, and I'll probably speed it up because, you know, you don't need to watch it drip down the fretboard but so many times, right? Okay, so I'm just going to keep cruising. We'll get this part done. We're going to let this dry. I'm going to let it set overnight. I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm going to make sure that CA glue is as dry as it can possibly be. Plus, I've run out of time anywhere for the day. But this is a goal to get done for this day. You know, you set a goal of work you try to get done in a day. This is it for this. Tomorrow I can come in then, put it over there in the rack. We'll video that. So this will be over a couple of days, and I'll try to condense it down into one video. And we'll get this thing back into playing ability, all right? So stick with us, and we'll be right back. Okay, so yesterday we reinforced all of the frets with CA glue up underneath, letting the CA glue run down along all of the frets just to make sure that everything was sealed in and tight, because I had some doubts about this fretboard. So we took care of that yesterday and we let it dry overnight. I think we're good to go now. So what I've done now is I put it in the rack here, the StewMac neck gauge, and we still have the strings on it. So what we want to do is we want to bring it over to the playing position, and what that does is it takes the gravity off of the neck and leaves it in the same position that you would use if you were playing it. So that way we know the neck is where it's going to be when you're using it, right? So you don't get any surprises when you start straightening things. So we're going to bring the gauges up to the neck and tighten those down. And you want the needle to go around a few times. All right, so we got that right. Got the neck where we want it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to bring it back up. Tilt the guitar back up and remove the strings. Whoop, I forgot to do something. When we've got it in this position, after we got the zero, hang on, let me get you over here where you can see it. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. God damn. Whew. Sunlight coming through the window, so makes it a little weird. But you guys get the idea of what we're doing here. Now I'm going to set this to 0. And set each dial to 0. Just like that. All right, then I'm going to bring this back up to the playing position. All right, once we get it back up to the playing position, let me back you up a little bit. And we have those dials set at 0. You can see they'll change quite a bit when you move it back up to the playing position. So at this point now is when we want to get it set up to where we have some adjustment to get the neck back where it was by using this strap and this little screw jack right here. So we'll bring this through up under there, and what we want to do is bring this up until it touches. Then using this and this screw jack, we'll adjust these two dials until we get them back to 0. And that's it right there. Now those two dials are back on 0. This is locked in. Everything's locked down. We'll pull these back up. Like that. Pull this up. All right, and that'll keep the neck in place when we take the strings off. The tension will stay the same as it was when the strings were on it. So we can take these strings back off now, and we can flatten these frets, and we can recrown them. So let's go ahead and get that done. We'll go ahead and unlock these bad boys and get them off of there. Put a little tape over this pickup so we don't scratch anything up. And I want to go ahead and tape off the rest of the guitar as well. I don't want to take a chance of scratching the lacquer. just in case we slip off or something, you know. Sometimes things get weird. Okay, so now we know we have this where we want it to be. We go get the leveling beam and we'll flatten this baby out. Be right back. Put some marker on here so we know what we're doing. Like that. That way we know where the high spots are. We'll take our leveling beam, put some fresh paper on there. Start out with some 320. Until all of the frets look like that. That way you know it's flat. See, right there's a little bit of a low spot. So that's what I'm going to keep doing until I get that. And then we will recrown them. All right? So I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So yesterday I was reviewing some of the film from yesterday. And I neglected to show you that when it's in the playing position, you straighten the neck with the string still on with this particular system. And I did that before I started filming and forgot to tell you. So when it's in the player's position with the strings on it, that's when you straighten the neck. Then you set your dials to 0. Then you move it, you straighten your dials to 0. Then you move it back, right? And then gravity will move and will move the neck. And you can see it because your gauges will move off of 0. Then at that point, you need to use this little doodad here, this neck leveler, and this strap. And what that does is put tension back on the neck the way it was. And you can move this and tighten this strap, which is not my favorite thing. I think this could be done a different way with maybe a dial on a strap where the straps locked across each other. Something other than this. I've never been a fan of this, but it works. And then you keep adjusting that. It's very slight adjustments until your gauges come back to 0. Then you know you're back in the player position, same position again on the neck. Same tension as if strings were on it, okay? That way when you do your fret work, when you do your surfacing on your frets, you don't have any surprises when you put the strings on. Potential spam. My phone automatically cuts it off. So that's where we are. And yesterday I went through and resurfaced all of the frets. Everything is really rock solid now. There's nothing rocking. Use this StewMac leveling gauge just to go across every fret and make sure you don't have any high frets. And I've already done that all the way down the neck, and there are no high frets. And I'm very happy with the way they are right now. So next up, obviously, we have to resurface all of the, or not resurface, but redress all of the frets to get the crown back on there the way we want it to be, and repolish, and then clean up the fretboard and clean up the neck, oil everything up again real well, put some strings back on it, and I believe this particular guitar will be ready to rock and roll once again for Patrick. You know, we'll reset it up. We'll make sure all the action's good. We'll make sure we have the same radius on the bridge that we do on the fretboard, which is very important. A lot of people miss that sometimes at home when they're adjusting their guitar. The radius of the bridge has to be exactly the same as the radius of the frets, or you're going to get some weird fretting out and you're going to get some weird things going on. You're going to be wondering what the heck is happening. That cannot be straight. It has to be radius the same way. And you use a radius gauge, one of these, you know, whatever your particular radius is on your fretboard. You make sure that when you set the heights of your saddles, that they are also on that radius. All right? Does that make sense? Also on that radius. Okay. All right. There's lots of guys on YouTube that show you how to do all that stuff, and they do a great job doing it. So if you're interested in trying to do fret work, man, all you got to do is search in the search bar fret work, and there about 1,000 people will show you how to do it. Okay. So before I go any further, I need to put my guard back on. And I just use this so I can mark the frets without getting any ink on the fretboard. And then we will start dressing these frets again. This will allow us to know when we have just a little bit of a line left. I'll show you what I mean. I'll do one and do a close-up. And you guys will see what I'm talking about. We'll do this all the way down, mark every fret, all the way down. This is not the fun part of building guitars, fretwork. I mean, it's not fun, but it's very tedious, and you have to just put your earplugs in, you know, listen to some music or whatever you listen to. I like to listen to books. I put in a good book and I just zen out on doing the frets back and forth until they're all right, you know, and then we polish them up, putting the strings on and listening to it play. That's the fun part. Okay, we got that. Now, one thing I've noticed doing this, I just recently moved this over here. Not recently, but I'm just now getting used to using this over here. I used to do all of this work over on my bench, but it's just so much going on over there. Now, I decided I would try to do this set up here. And this is okay, although it does shake a little bit. And actually, once you get to this point, after you've already surfaced the frets, you can do all the rest of this on the bench, which is what I will probably do. Go ahead and move this over. Because you've done all the surfacing now. Now it's just crowning the frets. All of the fret crowning can be done sitting on the bench. So I'll probably move it over there to do that, but I'm going to show you a couple of them, how I do it, and then I'll do the rest, you know, off camera. You don't need to watch me go back and forth with a crowning file for an hour to get these right. What we want to do then, after we get all these crowned, man, we'll get this thing cleaned up. We'll put some strings on it. That's where we want to be. We want to hear what it sounds like. We want to see how it plays. That's the important thing, right? Okay, so let me do one of these real quick. One thing I've noticed, if I'm going to continue to do this, my point was before I went off, is I need a little cart where I can put all the different little things. You know, you got to have one of these, and one of these, and one of these, and one of these, and one of those, you know. So I'm going to get one of those little carts from Harbor Freight, probably, you know, the little plastic ones you wheel around. Put that in here, dump all that stuff on there, and I can move it around a little easier. And I'm not constantly going, where did I stick that? Where's that? Like this? Where's that at again? So many things to do, so many things to think of when you're building guitars, you know, and you have a life going on at the same time. There's lots of stuff going on. But anyway, let's get to doing this guitar. I'm going to go grab some files. Be right back. Okay, so my two main files I use is one of these Z files and this tool here I got from Fret Guru. Now on stainless steel frets, the Z file doesn't cut them quite as well as this Fret Guru file does. So what I like to do is I like to go over it a couple times with this particular tool. This particular tool has the crown built into it. Let me see if I can show you that. You see how the crown is built right into the file? You can see some filings in there. That's from stainless steel frets. Need to get a wire brush and clean it. And there's a medium to large and then an extra large side. This tool works nice on the stainless steel frets, which this one has in it. This tool has two different angles cut on it. One that way and one the other way. So what you do is, it does a high angle and a low angle on one side. Then when you flip it, it does the opposite of that. That starts that cutting motion that like a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some people like to use the triangle file when they do the frets. I could never get the hang of it. It seemed to be awkward to me, and I like this better because it does that for you, and all you have to do is sit it on top and go back and forth. Okay, so I'm just going to do that, get that done. I'm going to move her over to the bench, take care of this fret work, and then we'll get it polished up, and get this guitar put back together, and we'll play it a little and see how it sounds. I'm pretty sure you don't want to watch me do every fret because, like I say, it's a little boring. But because I didn't have to take too much off to make this guitar right, we're in good shape. It shouldn't take that long. So I'm going to get to work doing that. I'll get back to you when this is done, and we'll listen to it and see how she sounds, all right? We'll be right back. Well, we won't be right back, but we will be back. Hey guys, welcome back. So this has taken a few days, couple of days, not a few days, 3 days to get this work done. Working on it a little bit every day. I just got to the point now where all the frets have been dressed and now they need to be polished. And I went through and double checked everything, make sure before you do any polishing, you always want to make sure that you don't have a high fret that you got to go back and redo, you know, because that's a drag. But everything feels good and level and solid, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. I think this is good. Everything feels good. So what I'm going to do now is polish the frets up. There's a couple different ways to do this. Sometimes before I put the neck on, and sometimes I'll even take the neck off and use a buffer. I have a little buffer set up. Other times I use a Dremel tool. It all depends. This time I'll probably go ahead and tape off the neck real quick and use the Dremel tool and buff everything off. The problem with the Dremel tool and with the buffer is, you know, the black that comes off of metal when you polish it, it'll get in on your fretboard and it makes it look nasty. So, and one thing I hate to do, I don't know why, but I really hate taping off the fretboards. Makes me crazy to have to put all those little pieces of tape on. And these things are great, you know, for doing the rough polishing and with these erasers, because you can just cruise along and hold this thing in place. I start out with 220, back and forth, back and forth. Of course, I hit it with, before I do that, I use a soft sanding pad and hit, go down the sides of each one, to help the crown smooth out. Then I come back with this, and I've already got a little groove cut into them. As you can see, the little grooves, right? And so that really wraps around the fret really well. And you're not really taking hardly any metal off at all, you're just polishing it. And we just cruise along on each one. All the way down. It's a tedious job working on frets. I'm going to have to say that it's probably not my favorite thing to do. But it's a very important part. I mean, the neck is everything, really. You can have the most beautiful body with the most beautiful burl or curl or flame or quilt, that'll just blow your mind. You can have the greatest electronics in the world. If the neck's not right, none of that really matters. So it's very, very important to get the frets right. And it's a lot of work, but it needs to be done. So I always have these, usually listening to a book or some music. Depends on the mood, But you got to come in here and you just got to get into your little zen space and just do the work. Go through the steps. I do all the way through 220, all the way down to 800. 1200 is the last one. And at that point, the frets are starting to look really good. And you don't even really need to use a Dremel tool to polish them. You can just come back with some really good polishing compound and a nice cloth and buff them up really nicely. And that's probably as good as they need to be. Super shiny fret looks pretty. It's not really necessarily all that not necessarily necessary. As long as they're very smooth across the tops, that's really all that matters. Shiny frets do look good though. So we always go for that. Wait a minute, I was on 220, right? I've lost my 220, here it is. So this is the process that I've gone through to get this right. And I'm going to keep on doing this for a while. All the way down. This is probably one of the greatest inventions ever, made by a company called Nomad. If you do a lot of this type of stuff, you should get one of these. You can get a 24 3/4 inch scale, and you can get a 25.5 inch scale or a 25.5 inch scale. And man, it's great for doing this kind of stuff. And it keeps you from having to do the dreaded tape. But I'm going to have to do the tape anyway, I think, when I polish. Another way you can do it is this. And I like to do it like this too. Hold on, let me grab some tape. I'll be right back. And this is what I will probably do here as well, to keep myself from having to tape each individual, try to cover the whole fretboard. It's not necessary. Just take 2 pieces of tape, like that, one on either side. Polish it, move to the next one, all the way down. That's really the easiest way to do it right there. And let me get you a close-up. Like that. And then you can just come back and, run through the grits. Well, what I'll do is use this to run through all the grits. Then when it gets down to the polishing part, I'll tape it like this and hit it with the Dremel. And then just move down, move down, move down, move down. That's the way I'll do this today. Then once these are all polished up, we can get the strings back on it. And I'm going to take, before I put the strings back on it, I'm going to do a little work on the bridge, and I think I'm going to lower the neck down into the neck pocket just a little bit, and try to tweak it just a little more. Try to get the action really super low, flat down on the guitar, and I think that's my plan. All right, I look through here and I see all of that mess back there. All of this stuff that I've got to find a place for. I'm going to have to get a storage shed to put out here on the property just to get rid of some of the excess stuff. For one thing about having a shop is it takes a lot of space just to have the tools and have room to work around the tools. You can't have a bunch of clutter around all your tools. And you know, and you got a chair that you don't really want to throw away, which I should just throw away because I don't need it. But you're like, it's a perfectly good chair, don't throw it away, right? So look what happens. It ends up becoming a wood storage facility. And man, vacuum cleaner, towels, coats. Whew, I need to spend about a week in this room doing nothing but trying to think of the most organized way I could set it up. And I would probably feel better in my brain because I wouldn't be so cluttered. But anyway, that's for another video, right? But this is what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to go all the way through all this stuff and get it done. See, where was I? I think I was right about here. And that looks good. It feels good. Feels real good. I like it. I just need to clean up the edges of the fretboard a little sanding, a little oiling, and we're good to go. But I'm going to do this first. Polish each one all the way down, and then we're good. All right, that looks good. That's what we're going to do. So we did that one already. One thing I don't like about using this is it makes the fret really hot. And I don't know if I like that or not. I don't know if it hurts it, but I don't really like it. Okay, that's that. That's polished. And all we need to do now is just clean it up a little bit. I think I'll just take this rag here. Pretty gleaming stainless steel frets. Very pretty. Very, very pretty. All right. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hitting that thumbs up button. And thanks for telling your friends and all of that good stuff. We really do appreciate it. All right. We'll see you guys out there somewhere If you have local bands in your area, wherever you live, if you live in a place where there's music, please go see some of those guys. I'm going to tonight. Don't know who yet, but I'm headed out into the wild blue yonder to rock out. All right? So peace, Worth Guitars. We'll see you guys out there somewhere. Bye now.